Now that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has named his revised federal cabinet and the Governor General has sworn everybody in, there's going to be a lot of questions about what these cabinet moves mean for different files, talking about regionalism, of course, Western alienation, and that all makes sense and have that conversation by all means. But there's another broad theme that isn't being discussed that should be how the cabinet is going to deal with national security issues. I think one of the reasons it's perhaps not being discussed much is because they don't want to discuss it. There are a number of hot potato files out there that are causing big headaches for the government, and no solution seems in sight. Some of them easier answers than others. Now, a lot of these problems are going to fall in the lap of Bill Blair, who is the new Minister of Public Safety after Ralph Goodale did not get re-elected for the first time in however many decades he has been in politics. Now, this is an interesting choice because Bill Blair was kind of junior minister for that anyway. He was given a special task to look at border security. That was his name, Minister of Border Security, his title. He didn't fulfill that very well. Because while the stories of people crossing over into Roxham Road on their own terms at a time of their own choosing are off the front pages in a lot of papers, it's still happening. It's still happening every single day. Monthly reports come out to show us that every month there are well over 1,000 people who are just crossing over, again, on their own terms. And it looks like Canada in 2019 is set for not a record number, but still a pretty high number, coming close to 20,000 people crossing illegally into this country in ways that, well, quite frankly, we are not in control. If Bill Blair never successfully shut that operation down, well, he's going to remain in control of that problem now, but then he's also going to have other jobs to worry about. So what's going to happen on the border security file? Looks like, for now, a whole bunch of nothing. I'll never forget the other year, I reported on how a director general in the immigration department gave a statement to Cornwall City Council. And this was probably something that they didn't expect would go viral. And well, it didn't go viral, not as much as it should have. But that director general, that bureaucrat said, look, you've got to realize, like it or not, this is the new normal. And European-style migration, where people just pretty much choose to come and go as they please, where they please, and when they please, that's coming to Canada. Uh-oh. Well, he never really doubled down on those remarks. He wasn't someone who was supposed to be giving public press statements for the media, of course, just meeting with city council. But I think we're seeing a bit of that unfold. Are we okay with that? Are we satisfied with that? Or do we want to see it more effectively dealt with? Is Bill Blair the guy to do it? The other big issue, the other security matter that Ralph Goodale, well, he said he was dealing with, but we never saw much materialize on it, was dealing with the returning ISIS fighters. Several hundred Canadians had gone abroad in solidarity with ISIS to wage jihad, to try and cave out some sort of caliphate for the Islamic State. Now, a number of them were killed. Some of them have returned already. Some of them are locked up in various prisons, and we're trying to figure out what to do with them. As the ones who have returned, the government officially says there are about 60 of them. A number of people have looked at the numbers, feel like there's a little bit more than that. And what's going to happen with that? These people have violated very serious criminal code provisions. To say nothing of flat-out treason, they've also violated some new provisions that were put in just a few years ago about associating with terror groups, fighting with them, and going abroad to fight with terror groups. But the number of people who have actually faced charges related to this, well, you can count them on one hand. There's really only been a few of them. Even though a number of the other ones, they've spoken brazenly to news outlets like the New York Times podcast to brag about the fact we're here, we're back in Canada, and we don't think the authorities are going to do nothing about it. Now, we hear this whole song and dance routine about how, well, it's really difficult to secure a conviction. You can't get the paperwork from a place like Syria and Iraq because they're just not as stable societies as us and all that kind of jazz. And look, that's all fair points, all good points, but it seems like we're not really giving it the old college try. It seems like we could be a lot tougher on this than a lot of people in the government are allowing themselves to be. So how will Bill Blair move forward on that file? That's a big thing you're going to have to watch in the months ahead as he really takes on this portfolio. Now, the other big security issue, this one is a cross between Bill Blair and Francois-Philippe Champagne, who is the new foreign affairs minister, and that is dealing with China. Coming up very soon, in a couple weeks, we will have the 1-year anniversary of Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor being detained in Canada, being held hostage. That's what it is. Let's call it what it is. 1 year anniversary. Wow. There's been no formal charges laid against them. There's no judicial process unfolding for them. Meanwhile, Meng Wanzhou is walking around freely in Vancouver. She's been arrested, they say. Well, she was arrested. She's out on bail, but boy, those are pretty liberal bail conditions for her right now. So it is not a tit for tat. They are getting a much rougher ride than Meng Wanzhou is getting. Very little progress being made on that file. Dominic Barton, the new ambassador to China, well, he did have a meeting with them, okay? That's great, but it's a shame that that is the thing that is being celebrated as great progress. One sit down with them, one meeting. We can do more. We should expect more. However, Champagne is going to need to say things tougher with China. Is he going to do it? Reports surfaced that a couple years ago, he was going soft on China. Said, they're just like us, go along to get along, all that sort of stuff. It does not bode well. Now, the one thing they want, aside from releasing Meng Wanzhou, is for Huawei to be approved, to give them access to help build our 5G grid, something a lot of our allies, a lot of security experts, a bipartisan issue, people on all sides of the aisle say, do not do this. Ban Huawei. Well, Ralph Goodell, previously when he was in the post, he said this decision will be made after the election. We don't want to politicize it. We want to leave it up to the experts, all that jazz. Well, we've been hearing from the experts all over the place, former diplomats, academics, people in the tech sector, and they say, ban Huawei. Is Bill Blair going to make that announcement? Is he going to chat with Champagne about it, and they're going to acknowledge this is the inevitable state of things, as it appears to be to anyone who is looking at this situation with eyes wide open? Or are they just going to keep dragging it along, not wanting to upset China and willing to continue to see themselves sort of be pushed around under the umbrella of Chinese communist authoritarian values? Those are the big questions right now. The national security file that Trudeau's new cabinet faces. We will see if they rise to the occasion. Right now, well, there are reasons to not be so optimistic.